state, local, federal, revenue, all these things come into play, and it's just amazing all these things that how the city is impacted for the variety of things that can occur.
I feel more confident in the city in the way it operates. I don't see wasteful spending. I see a lot of proactive thinking, way outside the box of what I thought a city does.
Well, I was already in love with Northport. I think everyone knows that. I got to meet the people who work here, their love for the community, how hard it is to run a whole city, the intricacies of it, and the why. It answers so many questions about the why things are done their way they're done. So it does, it empowers you to love where you live more and to get more involved.
And I think the important message here is the confidence that I really feel now.
Morning. Today is Tuesday, May 5th, 2026. It's 10 a.m. We're in the city chambers, and I call the city commission regular meeting to order. Commissioners present are Commissioner Duval, Commissioner Stokes, Mayor Emmerich, Vice Mayor Langdon, and Commissioner Petro. There is a quorum present for this meeting. Also present are City Manager Fletcher, City Attorney Fuino, City Clerk Faust, Board Specialist Linder, Police Chief Garrison, and Fire Chief Titus. I'd also like to acknowledge former County Commissioner John Thaxton is with us this morning. And I am requesting that all commissioners, public participants, and staff maintain order and decorum throughout this meeting. City Commission Policy 2021-03 states that attendees shall refrain from engaging in personal attacks and boisterous, immaterial, inflammatory, obscene, profane, or disorderly conduct. Thank you. I'm going to call on John Thaxton to lead us in the pledge, please, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Looking for a motion to approve the agenda? So moved.
Second.
Have a motion on the floor to approve the agenda made by Commissioner Stokes, seconded by Vice Mayor. If there's nothing to that, please vote. And that passes 5-0. City Clerk, public comment.
I have anonymous employee. As a City Hall employee, I'm tired of the same individuals coming to these meetings and pushing a narrative that there's a toxic work environment. That claim doesn't match reality. What is toxic is the repeated disruption and theatrics brought forward by former Commissioner McDowell and the same group of actors who continue to speak on her behalf. If we're going to talk about toxicity, let's please be honest. A sitting commissioner being investigated for making threats to blow up this building is toxic. Business associates of a Commissioner Petro confronting and arguing with city staff is toxic. These are real examples. Calling this organization a comedy of errors is also hard to take seriously when we've watched coordinated remarks between commissioners and the public that looks more like scripting than leadership. When one commissioner asks questions and the public having those same exact questions, it raises concerns about independence and judgment. From an employee perspective, the city manager has demonstrated professionalism, stability, and respect for staff. That's what allows us to do our job and serve the community. I appreciate the commissioners who recognize what's actually happening and continue to support steady professional leadership instead of feeding into distraction and noise. In person, I have John Thaxton and Tim Doyle.
Is here or there?
Right there, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the Commission. For the record, my name is John Thaxton, and I am here appearing on behalf of the Gulf Coast Community Foundation. And we have a lot of our staff members that live here in the fair city of Northport. And the other day, we were talking about the history of Northport, and I could not help but bring up some of my experiences in Northport in the late 60s as a child, especially talking about Warm Mineral Springs and the amazing history that this place has relative to archaeology. 10, 12,000 years ago, people came to this spring for nourishment, for food, for health, for spirituality. And I believe that tradition carries today. So one of the people that I was speaking to, Kristen Prince, who works at Gulf Coast, her husband is a professional photographer, and they had to see what I was talking about. Obviously, they couldn't get into the Cyclorama because it's been closed for years, but they did go to the springs, and they were in awe. Michael is a professional commercial photographer, and he specializes in aerial, what do you call those things, those buzzer things? Drones. Drones. He specializes in commercial drone photography. And he was inspired to take a photograph. He took the photograph. I looked at it, I thought it was great. And so I brought it here today. And it is a gift from Gulf Coast Community Foundation to the city of Northport. This is it.
Oh, wow.
I love the photograph because it's actionable. It shows the people in the springs. You can actually see them kicking the wave behind them as they swim. And I just thought that it really captured the beauty and the spirit of War Mineral Springs. And so I hope you can find a suitable place for it somewhere on city property.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
So I'll just leave it over here.
That's beautiful. It is.
That's it.
Thank you, sir.
Wonderful.
Good morning, y'all. I guess I have to apologize for mispronouncing Moran's name, and I said Morgan, so I apologize to all the Morgans in the world, even Captain Morgan, but it's Moran. All right? I brought my 2 cents again because I'm going to keep giving you my 2 cents. You're not stealing it from me, I'm giving it to you, right? People are probably sitting at home and say, why is this bonehead going nuts about the penny? Some of you are older than me up there. Last time we had a 5-cent Hershey bar was in 1967. Maybe some of you remember the 5-cent Hershey bar. Today they took away our penny because they say it's too expensive to make. Tomorrow it will be the nickel, the next day it will be the dime. Where does this end? We have a decimal system for our currency. No one wants to go to electronic currency. People in the world don't have bank accounts. People in the world can't get bank accounts. And some people, Chase Morgan, will not give them a credit card. So basically what Moran, did I say that right? Let me check, because I don't know the man. Moran, to me, is stealing. There is no law that allows this. There was a law passed, or maybe an executive order passed, saying to get rid of the penny. This is the problem with the politics and our politicians. They do something, but they don't know the consequences. I have personally called Senator Scott on this matter. I personally called the governor's office on this matter. I brought it up in this room. Someone's got to do something. This is ludicrous. I mean, I hear Senator Scott on public TV on a Sunday morning program and get up there and say, he's fighting Iran for our democracy and safety. Meanwhile, gas prices are what? $10 a gallon in some parts of the country. Do you know in Alaska, they're flirting with $20 for a gallon of fuel because of the rural areas, and they have a lot of oil, but they have no refineries. So the oil comes out, and they have to bring the gas back. This is ludicrous what these people are doing. We can make bombs to go blow up Iran, but we can't make a single penny to make our currency work. That's a problem. I feel you should kick the county out of this building, let them build their own building. The police department needs a vault for all their evidence. Make those rooms into evidence lockers. Kick the county out, and let's find a new county. Thank you.
That's all there.
All right, moving on to announcements, City Clerk.
The current vacancies for the following boards and committees include Art Advisory Board, Auditor Selection Committee, Charter Review Advisory Board, Citizen Tax Oversight Committee, Community Economic Development Advisory Board, Debt Management Committee, Environmental Advisory Board, Historic and Cultural Advisory Board, Joint Management Advisory Board, Police Officers Pension Trust Fund Board of Trustees, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and Planning and Zoning Advisory Board. Sarasota County Advisory Council vacancies include 1 resident of Northport to serve on the Sarasota-Manatee Metropolitan Planning Organization's Citizen Advisory Committee and 1 resident of Northport to serve on the Citizens Oversight Committee for School Facility Planning. If anyone would like more information, please see the city clerk's office. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda. City Manager, has any of the items been pulled?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Do we have any public comment?
And again, I'm giving you my 2 cents. So I have to talk about all the topics on here. I know how to do this. So A, 26-0339, approval of State of Florida Department of Environment Protection Standard Grant Agreement, blah, 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 for the Northport Blue Ridge, blah, 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 Phase 1, an amount of $3 million. So I think you should go get the money to do this so the taxpayers don't have to pay for it. The other thing, thinking about this water and sewer, since it's on the agenda, and there's been so much controversy in this room about what things cost, maybe the water department should do away with meters for all residential houses. Then there's no meter fee, we can cut down some of the bills we have, and it's a generic bill for everybody. Now, all the heavy users, meaning the industrial, the commercial, they should have the water meters. They can afford to pay for the water meters. They can afford to pay for their water. Now, if you want to have 2 sets of billing, one who has a sprinkler and one who doesn't, I'm all right with that. But I think the water department could save a lot of money by getting rid of all the meters, and the people of this town could save a lot of meters. So that's what I have to say on that, and you should get the money to help the people. So the next one is D, 26-0534. The amount of $300,000, right, to replace the playground. Again, this is for the goodness of the kids and the people in the community to use. You should go grab more money. See if you can get more money. These are the type of things that our city should be doing for the residents. I don't think the water project's that important, but this keeps kids out of the street. When I was a little kid, I grew up in this part of a town that was called the Indian Village. It was called the Indian Village because every single street was named after an Indian tribe of this country. It was done in respect. And we had this association, and it was called Sunny Acres. And I used to go to the park every summer, play knock hockey, make little pot holders for my parents and my mother. You know, my mother probably got sick coming home with all these weaving things and stuff. But I feel that keeps the kids off the street. I feel parks are a good thing for our community. Next one is F, 26-0558. Approval, the appointment of Daniel, I can't pronounce his name, so I'm not going to say it, no disrespect to anybody, to serve as the Planning and Zoning Advisory Board. The only thing I have to say on that, I hope this gentleman understands that people own their property. I hope this person will understand that I have a right to do anything on my property, and he should not interfere with me on my property, especially since it's homesteaded. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'll be looking for a motion.
I'll make it.
Go ahead.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Have a motion on the floor made by Vice Mayor to approve the consent agenda as presented, seconded by Commissioner Duval. If there's nothing to that, please vote. That passes 5-0. Moving on to public hearings. This will be for ordinance number 2026-11. I'm going to request a motion to direct the city clerk to read by title only.
Second.
Have a motion on the floor made by Commissioner Stokes, seconded by Vice Mayor Langdon to direct the city clerk to read by title only. If there's nothing to that, please vote. That passes 5-0. City Clerk.
Ordinance number 2026-11, an ordinance of the City of Northport, Florida, amending the Unified Land Development Code to consolidate the revenue account formerly known as the Tree Fund into the Environmental Protection Fund by amending Section 6.1.3, providing for findings, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. City Manager, this is your item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Back on October 6, 2024, the City Commission adopted ordinance numbers 2024-13 and 2024-14, which ordinances adopted a new ULDC to be effective in October 28th of 2024. Section 6.13 of the ULDC establishes the Environmental Protection Fund, providing those administrative costs, fees, and penalties collected as part of the enforcement of Chapter 6, Natural Resources, to be placed in said fund. This fund may be used to support the operations of the Natural Resource Division of the Development Services Department and for the following purposes: for the acquisition and ongoing maintenance of environmentally sensitive land, the acquisition of land for sustainability projects, planting trees in public spaces, maintaining trees to protect health and safety on public lands, and tree education, planting, and conservation programs. With the adoption of the ordinance number 2024-13, the clear legislative intent is to consolidate the remaining tree fund balances into the Environmental Protection Fund. Was not explicitly established in that section 6.1.3 of the ULDC, even though the fund itself was renamed. Adoption of this ordinance will clarify that intent and allow expenditures of revenues under the former tree fund consistent with the Environmental Protection Fund provision. We ask today that you will approve accept option 1, which is approve ordinance number 2026-11 as presented, and continue the second reading on May 19th. Myself and my team are here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Stokes.
Yeah, I have no problem with this at all, but since the subject came up, I would love to know at what point in time will staff report back to commission on, we have, I believe, $2.5 million of this fund set aside in our budget for environmentally sensitive land purchase. So I'm kind of anxious to hear, since we're well into this fiscal year, what properties we might have identified, where we stand, and are we going to be spending $2.5 million this year for environmentally sensitive land?
Yes, Commissioner Lori Barnes, Deputy Director of Development Services. Natural Resources is actively corresponding with the property owners who own the properties that were on the list presented to Commission when we requested direction to move forward with the program. Once we have an accounting of willing sellers, we'll bring back a report to the Commission to advise you on which properties we've identified willing sellers for and the process to move forward with the property acquisitions. As to the $2.5 million, expenditure of the full $2.5 million may not occur in this budget year. Our plan is to encumber those funds in a project, so any remaining funds that are not expended this budget year would roll into the next budget year for continuation of the program.
Beautiful. So it'll build on. That's what I want to make sure that, because I know realistically it's going to transcend fiscal years. I just want to make sure it doesn't fall back into the general bucket and we build on it so we continue, because there are some lands eventually we got to find our way to get our hands on. So thanks,
Yes,
Lord.
yes, sir. And also, as an aside, we actually have some property owners who were not on the list that we presented to Commission that have expressed interest. So if we proceed with any of those properties that were not on the original list that you approved, we'll bring them back one by one to receive direction to pursue the purchase of those.
Thank you, ma'am. That's all I got, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Duval.
Thank you, Mayor. I have some problems with this. Back in 2021, there was an ordinance passed, 2021-46, and that was regarding tree regulations and enforcements, and repealed and replaced ULDC Chapter 45. It's 44 pages long. And one of the things on that, on page 3, it says under 1.03 delta, preserve and plant trees that shall result in a 35% canopy coverage citywide, 50% of which are comprised of native species. In this ordinance you're asking us to pass, that's just not there anymore. That just goes away. When the ULDC was passed, it created the environmental fund, okay, which is paid for up to 50% by the tree fund. That tree fund was created for trees. Now, it wants to get rid of all of the specifics that were in the tree fund to begin with. And it's hard for me to support something that has been kind of watered down and now just wants to be changed into something else. And I'm definitely not saying that the environmental division does not have good things on its plate. It's just that I don't want to see the tree fund just totally depleted and gotten rid of. You know, where is that 35% canopy?
Commissioner Duvall, I can speak to that. The 35% canopy vision is incorporated in our comprehensive plan. That has not gone away. It is a comprehensive plan policy that the city shall strive to maintain a 35% tree canopy citywide. Our Natural Resources Division has completed a canopy assessment that has been presented to the City Commission, and that tree canopy assessment is intended to be updated every 2 years, every 3 years, every 3 years. So you will be seeing our progress in maintaining and enhancing the tree canopy. Yeah, so we're at 38% right now. Okay, so that provision has not gone away. Now, as far as the tree fund versus the environmental protection fund, in 2024, when the new Chapter 6 of the ULDC was adopted by this commission, the intent was never to create a new environmental protection fund and leave the tree fund behind to be limited to the expenditures allowed under the former code. Right now, our tree fund balance is approximately $5.6 million. About $3 million of that are revenues that came from the tree fund that were restricted to tree planting only. We do not have enough public property in this city to plant $3 million worth of trees on. Furthermore, there are comprehensive plan policies and strategic plan policies that speak to natural resources and environmental protection issues beyond planting trees, including your sustainability projects, acquisition of environmentally sensitive land, sustainability projects like flood attenuation. And along with that, wildlife protection and preservation, creation of habitats, and elimination of exotic invasive species. So all of these environmental protection initiatives are intended to be funded by the Environmental Protection Fund. Under the tree fund, we were not meeting all of the objectives, goals, and policies of the comprehensive plan as to our natural resources here in the city.
I have no objection to having, an environmental division and having objectives other than planting trees. But I just do not want to see this tree section just be deleted, that 35%. Last year, we were told that there were going to be 500, the goal, this is part of the budget process, 500 trees planted this year. Did 500 trees get planted?
We are, Elena Ray, Director of Development Services. We're probably close to that. We will have that done well before the end of this fiscal year. But also, I think I'd like to add a little bit of clarity to this. We are not deleting the tree preservation ordinance. That's not what this does. This simply clarifies the naming of the fund and rolls the tree fund into the Environmental Protection Fund. The ULDC contains, that was adopted in 2024, contains many, many pages of tree protection regulations. This does not change that. This does not delete them. It doesn't change it. The regulations will continue to be enforced as they exist today in the ULDC. This is only about the naming of the fund.
I've read some of the revised ULDC. I haven't had the time yet to go through all of it, but I didn't see any mention in there of that 35% tree coverage.
That is in our comprehensive plan. So the comprehensive plan is the law of the land in Northport. So that is what we are working to maintain as an established provision in our comprehensive plan. We are currently exceeding that. We're at 38% tree canopy coverage. And we will be reevaluating that tree canopy survey to ensure that we stay on that track. This ordinance does nothing to change the regulations in the ULDC regarding tree preservation.
Okay, thank you for that. I will be withholding my approval on this for another 2 weeks, when it's come back, if it passes today. Thank you.
Commissioner Petro.
Thank you, Mayor. My question is, how restrictive the Environmental Protection Fund would be as far as the money that we're going to collect from the tree fund ordinance?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So we established this, I do believe it was in 2024, spring of 2024, the tree ordinance, and we established a specific tree fund to collect the money into that fund. Now, by dissolving the tree fund or absorbing it into Environmental Protection Fund, how much restrictive policy we will have collecting those money from the tree fund ordinance?
I hope, Commissioner Petrov, that I'm going to be able to address the question that you're trying to receive an answer to. So the tree fund monies were always intended to roll into the Environmental Protection Fund. But because Chapter 6 of the new ULDC renamed the fund, but didn't explicitly speak to rolling the tree fund balance into the renamed Environmental Protection Fund, the finance director requested that we bring this ordinance forward to clarify the intent of the former commission in renaming that fund and using those tree funds, bringing those into the renamed Environmental Protection Fund for the purposes under the new code. Now, I don't have a precise figure of what is in the tree fund that did not originate since October 28th of 2024, but our revenues in 2025 were $2.7 million. Our fund balance right now is about $5.6 million. So somewhere in the neighborhood of $3 million is likely remaining in what was the tree fund intended to be rolled into and renamed into the Environmental Protection Fund. And as I said before to Commissioner Duval, the former ULDC called for the city to use those funds to plant trees on private property. The city-owned property we have, and achieving $3 million of tree planting on those properties is not necessarily right tree, right place, right separation. So this basically moves those funds into the Environmental Protection Fund with the expanded authority for use of those funds, which is still governed by this commission under the budget process. You all approve the Natural Resources Division budget every year, and you see where that funding is allocated, whether it be for tree planting projects, land acquisition projects, sustainability projects like rewilding and habitat restoration. All of that is wrapped into the budget that this commission approves.
I guess it does make sense to rename it and combine it, especially with this section 6.1.3. My question is, so I guess that it was very restrictive from my understanding. Now my question is simple. How much of that environmental protection fund will be spent on future planting of those trees collected based on what was passed in 2024? Because we can collect a lot of money. How much of that money will be spent to replant or plant?
We have a number of planting projects in the works right now. We do not have a set percentage of funds to be expended for tree planting versus land acquisition versus rewilding versus reforestation versus habitat restoration. We don't have set percentages because there needs to be some flexibility in the funding of projects that the Natural Resources presents to the City Commission for approval. We might miss out on opportunities if we were to set a maximum percentage of funding for each area of environmental sustainability. And that goes to grants too. Sometimes we'll have grant opportunities come up and we might need matching funding. Well, if we're told we can only spend 10% on wildlife habitat and we don't have enough for a matching fund for a grant, we could miss out on the opportunity, which is why when we brought the ULDC in 2024, we didn't have set restrictions on percentage of funding to go to each area of interest as per the comprehensive plan and the strategic plan.
Thank you.
If I could also add to you, this is Irina Kucharenko, Finance Director. So yes, the tree fund was more restrictive. The Environmental Protection Fund opened a little bit more for environmental sensitive land purchases when the tree fund didn't. So we couldn't just roll the balance from a tree fund into the Environmental Protection Fund because tree fund was more restrictive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
City Clerk, public comment.
I see nothing wrong with changing the name or moving the money out. But what I see in this and what they're saying is there's $5 million there. And according to this, and what I'm reading on your thing is, that money can be used to buy sensitive land. Sensitive land was mentioned in this room yesterday. So I wonder if they will take any of this $5 million and go and look at the land that the county owns or private people own that are on county property for a road from here to inland, an east-west road like we were talking about. So according to this, we could buy the land, we could build a road, and we can replant all the trees. We can make animal crossings over the road with this money. We can make animals crossing under the road with this money. So the way I see it, I see nothing wrong with this. I see opportunity for the town to take care of the citizens of this town and take care of your tree problem. You don't have places to plant all those trees, you're gonna make a road right across, you plant all new trees, you make all these wildlife things. They do them up north all the time on the highways, the deer and everything. So it sounds like this project could help us with the east-west road. And what, you know, I'm gonna say something, you know, in today's world, the government thinks that they can take everybody's cell phone data for a square mile if someone has a gun and know exactly what I'm doing. You follow me? So we are using money that shouldn't be used for things. This specifically says acquisition and ongoing maintenance of environmental sensible land. That's exactly what was said in this room. So I feel you should take the 2 or 3 million that you can spend on land and try to get that land, and then, we have a new EPA. The EPA will let you build the road. If they can watch me on a cell phone, watch me in a car, then if the 100,000 people are trapped by a flood, because we all know 75 is not safe anymore. I live pretty close to Toledo Blade. I saw all the cops, all the cars coming off the highway when they couldn't go down the highway. They were sitting in our neighborhoods. I'm not complaining about that. The people had to have somewhere to go. To me, that's not a problem. The problem was 75 didn't hold up. And the other question I have on this sensitivity stuff is, down here we have pine trees that are foreign. They are not native to Florida. Pine trees are weeds. They crack and break in all the storms. They are not meant to be here. And I don't know how this fits into this, but I feel that any pine tree in this town that's not native should be cut down.
All right, I'm going to close this public hearing and request a motion.
I'll make it.
Go ahead.
I move to continue ordinance number 2026-11 to second reading on May 19th, 2026.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor made by Vice Mayor to continue ordinance number 2026-11 to second reading on May 19th, 2026. That was seconded by Commissioner Stokes. Please vote. And that passes 4-1 with Commissioner Duval dissenting. Anything to that, Commissioner Duval?
Thank you, Mayor. No, I'll rely on my previous comments to call.
Thank you. Moving on to ordinances, second reading, ordinance number 2026-14. City Clerk, can you read by title only, please?
Ordinance number 2026-14, an ordinance of the City of Northport, Florida, amending the non-district budget and capital improvement budget for fiscal year 2025-2026 to increase Park Impact Fee Funded Project P24 LTC Legacy Trail connection to Warm Mineral Springs in the amount of $125,000, providing for findings, providing for posting, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. City Manager, this is your item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. During the City Commission regular meeting held on April 21st of 2026, ordinance number 2026-14 was continued as presented with no changes to second reading on a 5-0 vote. Ordinance number 2026-14 was submitted to the clerk's office on April 23rd, 2026 for signature, subject to commission approval. We ask you today to choose option 1, which is adopt ordinance number 2026-14 as presented. Thank you, sir.
Okay, commissioners, anything to this? Commissioner Duval.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the second reading, and I don't see where anything's changed. We did pass it the first time, so I'm good with passing it again.
All right. There's nobody else. Public comment?
Again, I don't see any problem with this. You're trying to make a trail for people to use and people to go out and enjoy nature, and maybe bring some people to the city to promote commerce. So in the long run, something like this could actually help the city with tax revenue or other things like that. So I look at something like this as an investment. I am worried about fees. There's no doubt about it. Some of the fees, we got to be careful. We got to look at where we're spending some of the other money so we can continue to do things like this to enhance our city for everybody. And again, anybody could use this trail or what have you going down the road. So again, I'll support it. And again, we just got to watch the fee side on some of this stuff, because what happens if the fees get too high, you can build everything you want. The people aren't going to come. Amusement parks go out of business because they raise their fees, everybody. So you just have to be careful on the fees. And I don't know what the right number is, but I support it, and that's all I'll say. Thank you.
All right. If there's nothing else, I'm going to close this public hearing and request a motion.
I'll make it.
Go ahead, sir.
I move to adopt ordinance number 2026-14 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor made by Commissioner Duval to adopt ordinance number 2026-14 as presented, and that was seconded by Vice Mayor. If there's nothing to that, please vote. And that passes 5-0. Moving on to resolution number 2026-R-10. City Clerk, can you read by title only, please?
Resolution number 2026-R-10, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Northport, Florida, amending and restating the citywide sponsorship policy, herein known as the sponsorship policy for city events, activities, programs, and designated public spaces, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. City Manager, this is your item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the City Commission workshop on February 2nd, 2026, there was consensus by the commission to direct the city manager to update the citywide sponsorship policy, considering new or additional ways of enhancing the value of the presenting sponsor, and to bring back a resolution for commission review. So staff have prepared resolution number 2026-R10 and amended the citywide sponsorship policy, incorporating the discussed revisions, including adjustments to cost alignment, renewal timelines, and payment windows. Additionally, presenting sponsorship benefits have been adjusted and enhanced to better reflect the level of investment and to offer increased value and visibility for sponsors. We ask today that you take the recommended action of approving resolution number 2026-R10 as presented. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Commission, anything? Not seeing anything. City Clerk, public comment?
I can support this. We need to have places for the public to get together, different organizations and things like that, programs. And we got to remember a lot of this stuff, again, we're talking money, we're talking different things. Money's not everything in life. It really isn't. It's camaraderie, it's getting together. An ordinance like this can get people together and make our community stronger. Make ties with people, bring them together, less friction. So I support this, and I think, you know, we should promote events and activities and programs in our community. You may not like them all, I might not like them all, but that's different taste. Doesn't mean they're right or wrong. I mean, I want to make sure that we don't discriminate against anybody because of the events, because that's the way it should be. So I support it, and that's all I'll say at this time. Thank you.
Going to close this public hearing and request a motion.
I'll make it.
Go ahead.
I move to adopt resolution number 2026-R-10 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor made by Vice Mayor to adopt resolution number 2026-R-10 as presented. That was seconded by Commissioner Stokes. Nothing to that. Please vote. And that passes 5-0. Moving on to resolution number 2026-R-11. City Clerk, can you read by title only, please?
Resolution number 2026-R-11, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Northport, Florida, authorizing the sale of real property located on 2400 Commerce Parkway and described as Lot 8, Northport Industrial Park, Sarasota County, property appraiser parcel identification number 096-211-0080, incorporating recitals, providing for filing of documents, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. City Manager, this is your item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On October 22nd of 2024, the City Commission directed the City Manager to work with staff to initiate negotiations regarding the sale of city-owned commercial property located at 2400 Commerce Parkway. Following negotiations, staff reached a proposed sale price of $950,000 with Sentinel Fund SPV XII LLC, an appraisal date of March 22nd, 2025, completed by Hatima Sawa LLC, reflected an appraised value of $920,000. This parcel is zoned ILW, Industrial Light and warehousing and is approximately 2.11 acres. We recommend that you choose option 1 and approve resolution number 2026-R11 as presented. Thank you, sir.
Sir, Commissioner, questions? Commissioner Duval?
Thank you, Mayor. Based on, the statements just made by city manager, was appraised at $920,000 and we've been offered, $950,000. I have to say, this is a good deal for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. City Clerk, public comment?
I'm not going to oppose you getting money for a piece of property. That's not bringing in tax dollars. That will start to bring in tax dollars to help everything. So this is a good thing. So the only thing I don't see on here, who's buying it, that might all be private right now. I don't know the deal with it. But what I have to say on this property is it sounds like it's going to come back before you again in some way. No one's going to pay $1 million, almost $1 million for a piece of property and not want to do something with it. So being at a few of these meetings and seeing how some of this stuff is going, please make sure when it comes back to you that maybe this property creates jobs for the community as well as tax revenue for the community. Because I've seen some of the commercial property get passed where it doesn't really create any jobs for our community. So we got to make sure. Again, you guys shouldn't sit on things if you can get this type of money and it will enhance the public. But we got to make sure whatever goes on this property fits with the community. And that's all I'll say at this time.
Thank you. Close this public hearing and request a motion.
I'll make it.
Go ahead.
I move to adopt resolution number 2026-R-11 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor made by Commissioner Stokes to adopt resolution number 2026-R-11 as presented, seconded by Vice Mayor. If there's nothing to that, please vote. And that passes 5-0. Moving on to resolution number 2026-R-19. City Clerk, can you read by title only, please?
Resolution number 2026-R-19, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Northport, Florida, accepting ownership of donated real property located on Coastal Street and described as Lot 5, Block 2087, 45th addition to Port Charlotte Subdivision, Sarasota County Property Appraiser Parcel Identification Number 113-120-8705, incorporating recitals, providing for filing of documents, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. City Manager, this is your item, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Landowner Lorraine and John Damasco are seeking to donate their vacant lot. It's located on Coastal Street in the city of Northport. This parcel is a 10,000 square foot residential lot in Zone Activity Center 6. Acceptance of this donated property by the city will enable its use in future negotiations and related initiatives. Staff have reviewed the offer and approved the request for donation. There are no tax liens on this property according to the Sarasota County Tax Appraiser. We recommend that you choose option 1, which is adopt resolution number 2026-R-19 as presented, authorizing the donation of real property located on Coastal Street, Northport, Florida, 34288. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Commission, anybody? Commissioner Duval.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a gift. I think I'm going to vote for this, and I'd like to see a letter of thank you sent to the people that are donating this to us.
Is that it?
That's it.
Thank you. City Clerk, public comment.
I concur. Someone's given us something as a gift, so you should send a letter of thank you. So I agree with the member on that one. And again, I think you should accept the property, no problem. That property could be resold to help some of your bills. That property could be turned into a park for the local community, even though it's only 10,000 square feet. So you could do different things with it. It does, at that point, take it off the tax rolls, but an empty lot, what are you losing? I don't know, $600-700 a year, so it's not a big deal to me. But again, I think you should accept it. I think you should send that letter of thank you on behalf of every citizen of the town. And then after you get it, maybe look at it and see what kind of uses you could use it for, not just take it and sit it, but does it fit in the community? Because I know like the part of town where I live, there isn't one park. There isn't one place for a swing set. So, you know, I kind of like those things for the kids, so accept the lands and thank the people, and that's all I have to say.
All right, I'm going to close this public hearing and request a motion.
I'll make it.
Go ahead.
I move to adopt resolution number 2026-R-19 as presented with a letter of thanks going to the current owners of that property from the commission on behalf of the community.
Second.
Got a motion on the floor to adopt resolution number 2026-R-19 as presented. Also adding a letter of thank you to the present owners from the commission, thanking them for their gift to the community. That was seconded by Commissioner Duval. Nothing to do that, please vote. And that passes 5-0. Moving on to resolution number 2026-R-26. City Clerk, can you read by title only, please?
Resolution number 2026-R-26, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Northport, Florida, accepting the donation of the ACE K9 Temperature Alarm Deployment System from the Retired Law Enforcement Association of Southwest Florida, Inc., acknowledging that the Northport Police Department will be responsible for the installation of the equipment, providing for the city's acceptance of the donated equipment, providing for incorporation of the exhibits, providing for incorporation of recitals, authorizing the city manager or designee to execute all required documents, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. City Manager, this is your item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Northport Police Department utilizes K9 units to support law enforcement operations. The Retired Law Enforcement Operations Association of Southwest Florida Incorporated raises funds to support active law enforcement K9 units by providing safety equipment and training tools. To enhance K9 safety during vehicle deployments, the organization has offered to donate one ACE K9 Watchdog Temperature Alarm Deployment System to the City of Northport for its Northport's Police Department's K9 unit. We ask that you choose option 1 today, which is to approve resolution number 2026-R26 as presented. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Commission, questions? Anything? City Clerk, public comment?
I think you should also accept it. It's for the protection of the animal and the people, the way I read it. The one thing I will say about K9s, they're a useful tool, especially for search and rescue. But I do not support any K9 biting any individual. I repeat that. A K9 has no legal right to bite me. That's an attack by a wild animal, a wolf. Follow the genetics. So I support the K9 units, but I don't support dogs biting people. So if this is about training, the dog should not be trained not to bite me. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to request a motion.
I'll make it.
Go ahead.
I move to adopt resolution 2026-R-26 as presented.
I have a motion on the floor made by Commissioner Stokes to adopt resolution 2026-R-26 as presented. Made by Commissioner Stokes, seconded by Commissioner Petro. Please vote. That passes 5-0. Moving on to general business. Item A, 26-0418. Discussion and possible action regarding the Fourth Amendment to the City of Northport, Florida and Sable Trace Development Partners LLC Water and Wastewater System Developers Agreement. City Manager, this is your item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since the approval of the third amendment, the developer has continued pushing this project forward on their end. However, due to unforeseen setbacks, including delays in obtaining necessary governmental approvals and a housing market downturn, they are experiencing additional delays. The developer desires to revise the schedule outlined in section 20.3 so that the developer's next fourth payment for capacity fees shall be on or before January 1st, 2030, with subsequent annual payments being due on that date each year thereafter through 2037. The extended deadlines for capacity fee payments provide the developer with extra time to meet their obligations, accommodating challenges in the development process and ensuring a smoother project. We recommend that you choose option 1 today, which is approve the Fourth Amendment to the City of Northport, Florida and Sable Trace Developers Partners, LLC Water and Wastewater Systems Developers Agreement. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner questions? Anything? Commissioner Duval?
Thank you, Mayor. This is developer asking us for something. And, basically it's a delay of paying fees. I did read in the background material where the future dates will be at the fees we're charging at that time. But still, and fees may go up in time, costs do go up. But even still, I wonder if we could consider, possibly adding a little fee or maybe, a little interest charge to this. If they're delaying paying fees to us, it's something, an agreement already made, then maybe the citizens should be compensated for that. That's all.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. It certainly is not in the best interest of the community or the folks living in that development or area to have this developer go belly up. And I know they have faced many, many financial challenges since this property began development and the correction of the brownfield situation, the arsenic situation. However, I tend to be thinking along the same lines as Commissioner Duval. I'm a little uncomfortable moving the entire payment out, and I think some kind of fee or interest payment or some type of interim payment makes me a lot more comfortable than pushing this out to a later date. So I would be very interested in what my other fellow commissioners have to say on the matter.
City Manager, when is their due date at this time? 2028, I believe.
2028, according to Mr. Attorney. Well, the next one says January of 2030. January 1, 2030.
Thought they were moving it to 2030. They wish to move it to 2030.
Oh, you know what? Can you just
Yeah, sure. The next payment's, next payment's January 1st, 2026, and then it'll be January 1st, 27, and then 28.
So what would be the financial impact per year if we were to push it out to 2030?
It all depends on what the fee would be at that time.
What do they owe for 2026? Let's just shoot with that one.
Mr. Mayor, we want to see if someone from our team knows the answer to that.
While we're waiting for that, if I might add, since it's already a staggered payment, some kind of partial payment would be more to my liking than simply pushing it out.
Yes, if I may, Mayor. There's a schedule of the payments, and exchange, we'll take one payment and make it due January 1st, 2030, but then it continues to another payment, 31, 32, 33, all the way down through 2036.
No, I understand that. I just want this on the record money-wise.
Okay, Mike Mulo, Assistant Utilities Director. So the overall scope of the work and what they're paying for right now is 104 ERCs, which they'll continue to pay to guarantee revenue on. Anything above that, so it's a reduction in the actual work. So they will pay the current capacity and ERC calculations at that time. So if it's 10 years down the road, whatever those ERC calculations are at that time, anything above the 104 that they currently have and they're currently paying guarantee revenues on, they will have to pay addition to once they use up their 104 ERCs.
And that would be pushed out to 2030.
Correct. They would have to bring that back. We would have to reallocate the ERCs back to the project at a later date at the current capacity.
Yeah, and well, the thing about it is, you know, we're looking at, you know, where the city itself is in a bind as well. And I don't believe that we should push anything out. You know, it's like if they're using it, they're using it, and we should be compensated for it going forward. I just don't agree with this, so. Anybody else?
For clarification, if I may, I thought I heard you say that anyone, that they will pay for anyone who is using or is coming online to use our water. Is that correct?
Correct.
So what they want to push out are the payments in anticipation of growth. Is that correct?
Yes, it's the overall, they're continuing to pay for 104 ERCs going forward. So that is their guaranteed revenue, which is not developed, not constructed, future phases down the road. They're still paying 104 ERCs as future. Anything above that 104, they will need to come back for ERCs back to us for recalculation of that cost, because they're not guaranteed to build after that. There's not, they have to pay for the capacity at the plant. So, and then we'll have to reevaluate our system and our infrastructure to see where we're at that time.
That it from everybody? Public comment?
This is a sign of the times. I don't think people realize that. Now, if I understand right from what he just said, is that they're trying to push off the part of the projects they haven't started building yet to pay you. But they are paying you already for everything that's been built or is permitted, if I heard that right. So the money you're trying to collect might be something that's never built, if I'm not mistaken. But that was my take on what was just said. You could push them into bankruptcy to the one point that was made, and you never get a dime from anything. And again, we're back to the water and sewer department, bankrupting people in this city, bankrupting developers. Now, I do think the developers should pay for this when the development is made. That was a mistake in this city. If you wanted water and sewer, it should have been put in before you put the streets down. And it wasn't done. That's a mistake you can't go back on. There are some solutions. I don't know how you should vote on this, but the way I see it, I don't know how you can make someone pay for something that doesn't even exist. And you could push them in bankruptcy. Not only that, does that stop the development, that will stop anybody working in the area who's working on those sites. And that will be a domino effect. I can drive around and see half-finished houses all over the place. And obviously, they are doing this because they know they can't sell those $1 million homes or whatever price they want. So it's a hard decision. I'm not gonna take a side on it, but I don't really see how you can make someone pay for something that hasn't been built or might not ever been built. You should go after the money that's already been built and permitted, and they know they're gonna build. And to all your points, if they start building 3 years from now, you could get more money at that point. So I don't know what, I didn't read the whole contract with how you guys do these things, but again, you're charging for something that's not built, if I heard everything correct. So that's where I'll leave it. I'll leave it in your hands because you know better than me. Thank you.
All right, request a motion.
I'll make it.
Go ahead.
I move to approve the Fourth Amendment to the City of Northport, Florida and Sable Trace Development Partners LLC, Water and Wastewater System Development Agreement.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor to approve the Fourth Amendment to City of Northport, Florida and Sable Trace Development Partners LLC Water and Wastewater System Developers Agreement made by Commissioner Stokes, seconded by Vice Mayor. If there's nothing to that, please vote. That passes 4-1 with Commissioner Duval dissenting. Commissioner Duval, anything to that?
No, sir, just, I made my comments that I think we should be compensated for, helping them out on this, delaying money, the city needs revenue, citizens have to pay it. I don't think like a 1%, 2% fee would be too egregious. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item B, 26-0611, discussion and possible action.
Sorry, Mayor, point of order?
No.
Is it permissible for Commissioner Duval to make a motion, an additional motion regarding this item that we just finished here? Would it be appropriate?
Yes, it could.
Would be appropriate if you wish to make a motion.
You're gonna discuss it.
You
You only have to reopen it if you're going to discuss it and get further information from staff or anybody, but if it's just to make a motion, he can do that.
Wow, making a stab at this. I gotta ask my fellow commissioners, what do you think is fair? 1%, 2% added on to any of the delayed fees?
If I may discuss.
Can we discuss, City Clerk?
We have to open it.
You're gonna have to reopen the public hearing if you're gonna discuss more. But if he wants to make a motion and then discuss, you don't have to.
Okay.
So I'll discuss.
Well, he says you need to make a motion that's more direct. Like, let's say you made a motion for 2%.
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we reopen this for discussion.
No motion's required. You can just reopen it.
All right. It's reopened. Item number 26-014. Oh, 0418, sorry. Floor is yours.
Yeah, my comment would be, I was thinking very much along those lines, Commissioner Duval, but then when I heard that the capacity fees could very well go up in the intervening time, and the developer could wind up paying that higher amount, if I understood that correctly, then that sort of made me more comfortable with it. So I would be reluctant to assign any additional fee to that. And I would be doubly reluctant to put in a specific percentage without having staff come back with some assessment of the impact of that and what might be appropriate. So that's my sense of the matter at this point.
Commissioner Petro?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I voted yes on this because, I don't want the developer to go bankrupt. It's a substantial amount, but at the same time, a capacity fee, or are they going to be obligated to pay at the time of the contract of the capacity fee, or the capacity fees will be adjusted? And that would be my question to utilities. Because we're going all the way to 2030. That's all.
Mike Bulow, Assistant Utilities Director. Yes, they still, and we got to remember that they installed all of the infrastructure and conveyed all of this already to us. So we're managing and operating that entire system as part of that. The cost, and they're still holding for future development, and they're paying for 104. So we're not deferring any payments. They're still paying guaranteed revenues on the 104. Their initial ask of the 650 has been delayed, but that's not, they don't pay that till the connection. So there's not a delayed payment mechanism.
And the payment that they pay is the capacity fee at the time.
Correct. It's at the current time that they make the payment. Now the 104 that they're locked into, that is part of this contract that they're paying guaranteed revenues on, locks in at this price right now. So they're paying, they've already built 292. They've already used 292 ERCs. They have 104 left over that they're still holding on to, that they're still paying for future development. They're paying the guaranteed revenues on that 104 ERCs to keep the pricing as it is today. Anything past that 104, they're going to have to come back and they're going to pay the current capacity ERC calculation at that time. So if it's 10 years down the road, they have to pay whatever's outside that 104 ERCs at a later date, whenever they come back. And they'll have to come back to us for another agreement on that.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yep.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, my only other comment is specifically knowing that this developer paid for the infrastructure, and it's not like the city has sunk costs in the infrastructure that it's awaiting some reimbursement for. That would very much change my point of view on this, but I see this as a reasonable request, given, you know, the market and the situation for that developer.
Yeah, I'm also in agreement. I wouldn't add anything onto it, because if it puts them into dire straits down the road as well, it's like, it's just, we're not solving anything at this time. So, all you, sir. Back to you.
All right, I'm good with that.
All right.
Withdraw your motion.
You never made one.
Never made one.
I thought I heard one. I thought I heard one.
All right, I'm gonna reclose this item. Moving on to 26-0611, discussion and possible action regarding Parks and Recreation Advisory Board recommendation memorandum for event cost reduction strategy. City Clerk, you're supposed to introduce this item.
Yes, Commission was emailed a memorandum through the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board on March 30th, 2026, where they had made motions to recommend that fees for bounce houses and specialized activities at special events be charged to offset costs. And they also made a recommendation to the Commission to explore sponsorship opportunities. I believe Trish Sturgis is here and Sandy Funhiller in case you have any questions.
All right. Commissioner Stokes.
I might suggest that this item be continued to the Thursday workshop, since on Thursday we're going to be talking about a whole lot of things with regard to a couple of departments, Parks and Recs, to be included. And I mean, it seems like there's going to be some redundancy here, so that's just my comment. Other than that, I have nothing on this at this time.
Commissioner Petro?
I don't believe we should be charging to offset the cost. I mean, to offset or break even, we'd have to charge 20 plus whatever dollars per entry. I think it's a quality of life, and we should be okay with that, not to offset the cost. That's just my view on this.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I don't think we should. You know, when we had the one-on-one, I discussed about these are our signal events. You know, what are the families and the kids going to do if we did, like Commissioner Petro just said, if we have to charge $20 entry fee, is just, these are our community events. We're giving back to the community. We're trying to do the best we can. It is for family time, and I wouldn't even look into this even on Thursday about this area. I mean, there's a lot of other areas we definitely got to discuss, but this area right here, I'm fine with not going forward with it. So that's my 2 cents. Anything else? Public comment?
Ken Doyle?
I concur, $20 to let someone is a lot of money, even with the wages today. I did like hearing maybe get some corporate sponsorships, put up some signs, let people do that. Maybe they can donate. Again, I don't know what, it all depends on the event. You know what I mean? Again, a lot of these corporations in town are stealing 2 cents at a time. Maybe they could give that money back to us somehow. So if there's other ways to bring in money to offset some of the costs and keep the price as low as possible, I would go with that. So again, I concur, $20 is way too much for something for a family. That's $80, right?
All right. I'm going to request a motion.
I'll make it.
Go ahead.
I move to direct the city manager to work with staff to develop a sponsorship strategy to offset signal event costs to be brought back to the city commission for review at a later date.
I have a motion on the floor made by Vice Mayor. City Clerk, can you read that back, please?
To direct the city manager to work with staff to explore event sponsorship opportunities and/or sponsorship program to be brought back to the city commission for review at a later date.
Thank you. That motion was made by Vice Mayor. I'll go ahead and second it. So if there's nothing to that, please vote. And that passes 5-0. Moving on to 26-0620. Discussion and possible action regarding formal commission approval of the facility lease policy for the city-owned facilities, including selection of a set discount based on market value. City Manager, this is your item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On January 20th of this year, staff presented 2 potential approaches for incorporating discounts within the proposed facility lease policy. During that meeting, the commission made the following motion to direct the city manager to bring back the facility lease policy for formal commission approval using a set discount based on market value. There was also discussion and direction for staff to return with additional detailed examples demonstrating how a standardized discount would be applied to market-based lease rates. In response, we prepared the spreadsheet that was attached to the agenda item illustrating sample scenarios of how market-based discounts could be applied under the proposed policy. Under this framework, leases for city-owned properties would generally follow a commercial lease structure. Tenants would be responsible for improvements to their lease space, subject to city approval, as well as utilities and other costs associated with their use of the space. The city would retain responsibility for maintaining common areas, major building systems, and the overall structure of each facility. The proposed facility lease policy would not apply to air and ambulance leases, cell tower agreements, daily or short-term rentals, or similar specialized agreements. Staff are prepared to finalize the final facility lease policy upon city commission approval and direction on the standardized discount rate based on market value. We ask today that you have a discussion and possible action regarding formal commission approval of the policy for the city-owned facilities, including selection of a set discount based on market value. And we're happy to answer any questions you may have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Questions, commissioners? Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few questions. A couple of tenants on the list, I'm not familiar with them. One is Flotilla 92. Who are they and what do they do? And the very last one on the list, SCHD.
Chuck Speak, Public Works Director. The Flotilla is the Coast Guard Auxiliary. And the SCHD is Sarasota County Health Department.
I'm sorry, Sarasota County?
Health Department.
How are utilities currently handled, and how are you thinking of handling utilities going forward or under this new policy?
So under the new policy, the utilities will be the responsibility of the leasing party, the leasee. Let's mess that up. So currently it's a mix, but mostly the city pays all the utilities on these buildings.
Okay. Now, if someone is renting a building, it makes it pretty easy to figure out their utility use. In a use like our social services building, how would you envision utilities being handled? Just as what percent of the space? Is that how you would see it?
If we don't have separate meters for a facility, it would be broken out by square footage.
Okay. And they would be billed?
Correct.
So it wouldn't be embedded in the lease, it would be an additional charge to the
That's
lease?
correct, just like a monthly utility bill.
Okay, thank you. I did just sort of a quick back of the envelope, what's the impact to certain nonprofits? I guess what I had in my head was if we did proceed with market rate, and I'm just sort of throwing this out, and we looked at a 50% discount across the board, that's sort of not horrible, except for those that are currently leasing, 1,000 square feet or more. And I forget if I had this conversation with city manager or if we actually had it up here, but I think part of this exercise or process needs to be working with some of these nonprofits to determine if some of the space that they're currently renting isn't being fully utilized by that nonprofit. Could we convert some portion of it to shared use as a way of softening the impact to that nonprofit? I mean, the increase in rent for several of these would really be egregious, and I don't think we really want to do that. So last time we had talked about this, I had suggested looking at a tiered structure, depending upon the scope and nature of the work that that nonprofit did. I don't see that recommendation has been picked up, so I'll go with what's in front of us.
I can touch on that, Vice Mayor, just so we can put that to rest. That's not legally defensible.
Well, I read the state statute and there was provisions in there, so long if you create tiers, that every nonprofit in that tier be treated the same in terms of the discount. Now, I would defer to our city attorney for his take on it, but
it's
that's sort of what I read.
Sure, but it's proving that benefit to the community is the hard part. If that's already broken out in state statute, that's a different story. At the time of our legal review, that wasn't an option that I'm aware of. Because that's what we always came back to, was proving the benefit to the community and putting a dollar amount to that.
City attorney?
Well, I don't have the statute that you referred to in front of me, Commissioner, Vice Mayor, excuse me. But I think as the director just pointed out, the difference, the problem is going to be tiering them in practicality. And how are you going to do that? Because if you're not able to do that in practicality, then you're going to be treating like entities differently, and that's going to be your constitutional problem.
Okay, thank you for that. Another question, the Loveland Center is one of those nonprofits currently leasing a large space. I had heard rumblings in the community that they were moving out, that they had found larger dedicated space. Is that accurate?
Yes, ma'am, and these are just examples of what we had in place.
Right, there are
So
a lot more.
there are other examples. There are some here that are just, the Loveland is just an example of that space that's within that building, to give you a square footage. I didn't want to not have a name next to that, because I wanted reference if you've been in these places, so you would know what that looked like.
I'm going to yield the floor to any of my fellow commissioners who might have other questions, but I might come back for more discussion.
Anybody else? Commissioner Stokes?
Yep. Here we go. I mean, if the philosophy here is to provide space at an affordable rate that these, using these as an example, can afford, I mean, we're gonna need to be in the 80–90% discount rate. I mean, if even at 50%, it's gonna price some of these nonprofits out of the market. Couple it with the fact that we don't have a funding mechanism in place to either rebuild or replace the Awaken Food Pantry space, or all the wrinkles aren't worked out on what we're gonna do about, if at all, building another building that would house nonprofits, coupled with the fact that we have no earthly idea what the state's gonna do to us property tax-wise. I don't see any value, quite frankly, in addressing this policy at this time. It's like, to me, the cart before the horse. Let's figure out what it is as a city we have the ability to provide for our nonprofits, and then figure out what it is we can or should or might charge for this, because anything we say here is going to be affected by what happens in the not too distant future. It seems to me, you know, we're putting the cart before the horse, so I don't support doing anything on this item at this time, but that's just my opinion. That's all I got, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Petro?
Thank you, Mayor. I concur with Commissioner Stokes on this, but I also want to say that, you know, there's a legal defense on treating one non-for-profit over the other, and an example would be Awaken Food Pantry. And it's fairly easy to defend how much they contribute to the citizens of our community. That being said, you know, a good portion of residents are being fed by that non-for-profit, and thus minimizing theft or whatnot and conserving the resources of the city. So in my opinion, it's not as easy, but it's fairly doable to treat one over the other, especially this. And we can take one non-for-profit by one, going one by one and assessing it. We as a city, we have that power. But again, this is just, you know, a discussion for now, I guess, but we do have to keep in mind that if that non-for-profit contributes to the city, we have to be on the same, you know, not charge the market value, because, you know, they do support the city, they do contribute to the city. I don't know how much time we have. Maybe we can ask the staff how much. I looked at the options. We have like nine options, all the way to 90% discount. And then maybe this question would be directed to the city manager. How urgent or how soon do you want us to make the decision? Do you want us to make the decision today? I know we've extended some leases previously.
I believe the ones that you've extended recently are the ones that were having the highest sense of urgency. But I believe this item has been out there for as long as I have been here on trying to figure out where to land. So if you need more time and information, I believe we're happy to give it, unless I'm wrong, Mr. Speaker.
No, if you take no action, then we continue business as we have. This policy was requested by a commission that wanted to ensure fairness. But if you stay with, if you choose no action, then we just continue, we just bring the leases back to commission at time of renewal, and you make those decisions at that point.
Now, my follow-up question to this, we as a commission, at least myself, I have not met with any non-for-profits. So you've touched, and you know what they do, you know how they do, and you know the financials and their contribution. You presented us with the list, right? What would your recommendation be based on your interaction with with those?
I would recommend whatever the commission decides. I'm not that one to make that decision.
But
I have a different answer. What I would remind us all is that nonprofits are existing in this city to serve the same population in need that we are serving as a city. If they don't do it, those are services normally that we would have to pick up in some shape, form, or fashion. It is very common for the rent or the expenses of nonprofits to be heavily discounted so that we recognize that they not only serve that population, but they're also, most of them are not in the business of making profit. So taking that into account, I would recommend something on the very heavier side of discounting, something that allows you to recoup whatever cost you're trying to recoup, and that's the decision of the board, but it allows them not to have a financial hardship on them that may prevent them from delivering their service to our city.
And it's a good point. But you've interacted with those non-for-profits. We, as a commission, we have limited information, if you will, because you've met with them, you know how much they contribute, you know their needs, you know how much they spend. I don't know how much Awaken spends per month. What if they spend more than it's not justifiable? What if they spend so much that they in debt, and we assessing them a fair market value, we will put them at a greater danger to be in debt. So I would like to ask the staff, what would you recommend on each item or on each non-for-profit? What would your recommendation be?
My recommendation would be that you choose a consistent discount figure for them all. You don't look at each one and say, well, how they run their business and their financial situation is on. That's really not up to us. What we're trying to provide is a space that they can use for the least amount possible that doesn't harm our citizen taxpayers to say that, well, now we are supplementing more than we should in order to accomplish the common goal. So to me, even when you look on the deeper end of the discounts here, you can see some drastic changes in, like one nonprofit has $1 rent, which we know that has been done in the past, and we've seen that done before. And then you have, if you look at like the senior center, where their rent is $200 for a space of nearly 5,000 square feet, that stands out as well. But if you, as a commission, say, you know what, we're going to say 75% of market rate, and that's how we're going to apply it, or it's going to be 80 or 90 or 50 or 30, whatever you want to apply is where you land. But the reason that I land on the deeper end of the options are for what I stated, and I believe that you should embrace nonprofits in your community as a city government.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Duval.
Thank you, Mayor. There's so many different facets to this. There are so many different nonprofits. There are so many different benefits to the city from those nonprofits. But I'm tending to agree with what the city manager just said. We've got to try to be fair to all, but we got to try to be fair to the citizens. I would kind of recommend that we do go on the heavier side of the discounted policy, 60 or 70%, and try it for a year and see what the results are. As Commissioner Stokes said, we all know that there's chaos coming as a result of things beyond our control financially. So I would recommend setting it at 60 or 70% now, and then re-looking at it again in a year when we see what the effects of things coming down the line are from up above us. Thank you.
Quick question. Does the market rate take into consideration the age of the building? Because what was brought up that we discussed, let's say we're at social services building that's 10 plus years old, is it X amount, and then you brand new buildings, if they were to be constructed, is that a different market rate?
It is, sir.
Per square footage?
It is. We take that into account, the condition and age of the facility. And we use like comparisons, market comparisons for that type of age and condition building.
Yeah, because the older building could be a little bit less than a brand new building.
Correct, and it's reflected in these costs.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I did actually review the policy, and I have some questions specific to it. One is item B under general terms, allocation of costs. So staff is recommending a double net lease. And there's quite a list of the tenant being responsible for payment of their share of all operating costs. So this isn't utilities. This is taxes, maintenance, garbage, et cetera, et cetera. How would that work? Can you, I'm not a real estate expert. Could you describe a double net lease to me? And then what would be the impact of that on, so let's say we set a 70% of market rate. How does item B impact that?
Okay, and which section were you under? I'm sorry.
Allocation of costs.
Allocation of costs.
So double net lease.
Double net lease.
With tenant responsible for payment of their share of?
Correct. So the double net lease basically is just that the leasee pays the rent, and then any property taxes, which we don't have, the insurance premiums for their space, so they'll help cover that. And the city then we take care of the common spaces that they don't pay for within a building like the community service center.
Right.
Right. That is not reflected in these costs that we've presented. So they would, whatever number you come up with, whether it be 60, 70, 80, will be their base rent, and then those other costs will come in after that. And they will be responsible for inside their suite, as far as cleaning of the suite. Now, if we have a janitorial company, again, it will be broken out by square footage, right? The cost of that. They'll be in charge of any kind of the minor repairs. We do the major things.
It's really hard for me to determine a percentage when I have no idea of what the impact of some of these other changes, so double net lease and then utilities. I'd really need to see some type of range of impact on what that would look like. So again, I was very much prepared today to give a percentage. We need to do our jobs, gentlemen, and staff needs some direction moving forward. But I really do need to see the impact on our nonprofits. I agree with city manager. I am a huge supporter of our nonprofits. They do invaluable work in our community. So I really need to understand what the impact of all of these changes would be before I would feel comfortable setting a percentage today. So that's just sort of a question and a comment. I have three others, if I may, Mayor. I didn't see in the policy the penalty for breaking the lease agreement. And in the past, we've had some pretty egregious situations with folks getting significant breaks on our space. So I would like to see, what is the course of action? And in my mind, someone not understanding their lease or understanding the limitations placed on them, for example, subletting some of their space or charging sub-rental fees, is, in my mind, an egregious violation of their lease, given the breaks we're giving them. I would want to see a penalty in here and make it really clear. Is it eviction? Do they get a time frame? Is it one warning and then an eviction? So I think that is something we need to spell out. And so I guess, city attorney, that would be part of what you would need to weigh in on. Another question, would we be maintaining a waiting list of nonprofits? So for any nonprofits that are precluded because we're full up, would we maintain a waiting list, and how would that be handled? I'd sort of like to see some language with that. And then also, what's our service level agreement to the tenants? So I really liked the application process and the kind of information that we would be asking of the nonprofit. I liked all of that, but then if a nonprofit submits their application to the city by June 1, what's our obligation to get back to them with a yay or a nay? So I'd sort of like to see a service level agreement in here on what our commitment is to the applicant.
So you're looking for a time frame for approval or denial of an application?
Of the application.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So some of that will involve commission approval. So those timelines are going to be fairly stretched out.
So you might be coming back again with some specifics on this, or?
Yes, I think so.
Yes, city manager said is the answer.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, my feeling, I really wanted to move on this today and give staff some clarity and a path forward. But just to sort of summarize my comments, until I really understand the impact of the double net lease and the utilities, those are all additional charges to the basic lease. I really need to see that before I can set a percentage. And I have no objection to our nonprofits paying a little more than they're paying. I mean, part of the reason we're in the jam we're in with our public buildings is that we haven't had sufficient allocation of maintenance revenue. We've deferred maintenance, and now we're paying the price. We've been paying the price, tearing down buildings, et cetera, et cetera. So philosophically, I have no objection to everyone maybe paying into that fund somewhat, but I really need to see what that would look like before I can set a percentage.
So just so I can be sure, Vice Mayor, what we bring back to you.
For me, it would be what are the cost implications of Section 7, Item B, the allocation of costs?
Right, which is mainly going to be built out in utilities. Now, do you want that? Because
I see utilities as separate, because there's a whole different list of items here that would impact the cost.
Correct. Some of those won't apply, right? Those are generic terms for a double net lease. So utilities is going to, I'm telling you, utilities is going to be the main factor of that. Do you want that in I'm trying to think of a format that will work rather than going through every building, because every user can have a different level of utility use. So would you like an average based on square footage? And then we can extrapolate that into the square footage of these
Yeah, that would be
examples
very helpful. That
for
would be
utilities?
very
And that will include any utilities they have. It'll be water, sewer, electric, anything, any services provided.
Right, right. But I also see in this list, in addition to utilities, having tenants pay into a maintenance fund, for example. What would that look like? Picking up their garbage and recycling services. What's that gonna look like?
Right, and that's, again, that we can build that into square footage
Square footage, okay.
based on the building.
Okay, yes, I think that would be a good way to approach it.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you
you,
for
ma'am.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Commissioner Stokes?
Yeah, so, just to try to wrap my head around all this. Basically, we're talking about 3 spaces, basically. We got an Awaken food pantry space that is disheveled, falling apart. We know we have to do something about it. We're gonna have to spend a significant investment to maybe $2 million if we're gonna rebuild that. Then we've got the social services building, which is adjacent to that, and that is a building that sits as is. I assume it's in relatively decent shape, and it's yielding what rents we're getting. And then we have a contemplation of building another building where the art center was, which would be a cultural center or whatever it'll be, which is basically a facility, again, for nonprofits. If we're coming up with a formula, a discount off of market rate, and you look at the market value of those 3 different types of products that are going to be made available, the numbers are going to be dramatically different for whatever potential nonprofits want to or need to move into any one of these 3 or stay where they are. So my question is, how in the world are we able to come up with a discounted amount when we don't know? And we also don't know if the senior center is moving to an existing facility that we've already got. Are we gonna establish a market value for that building? Because they're the one that sticks out like a sore thumb. If you use the 50-60% discount, everybody else pays a skosh more, just a little bit more than they're paying or a little bit less. It's not too bad. What is blown out of proportion here is the Northport Senior Center. They're paying $200 now. Even at a 80% discount rate, they're paying $976. So what are we to do? Throw the old people out on the street? I don't think so. So how is it you can create a consistency of discounted rate off a market when we don't even know what 2/3 of the product that's going to be available is? We don't know what the market value of that's going to be. We can project the cost of building it maybe. So I just don't see how anything we do here has any application when 6 months, a year and a half down the road, some commission is going to be sitting here having the same conversation all over again, talking about how to change these rates. I just don't see why we should be addressing this issue now, despite the fact that it's been sitting here for as long as I and city manager and many of us have ever been here. I agree, and I'm not one for kicking the can, but this, I just think we're just gonna go back over this all over again, because this isn't gonna work for these people. These groups bring value to our city. We're gonna be affecting them, one way or the other, we're gonna be affecting them. And if the whole idea here is we're making investments into buildings for our city that we're gonna make available to nonprofits, if we're trying to create a justification for fees in order to help recoup the cost of those investments or the ongoing deferred maintenance, I think we're kidding ourselves here. We're talking about communities subsidizing nonprofits. We may not be paying for their operations, but we are subsidizing them. Philosophically, I don't have a problem with that. I just want to do it in a legal way, in a fair way, in a way that doesn't just become a redundant issue year after year, commission after commission. And that's what I think this will do. Until we know what we're doing and what it's going to cost to put people in places, I mean, I see this as a futile exercise. That's all. Thank you, Mayor.
City Manager?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. One thing that we did bring in that prior meeting in January was to not use the market rate value and establish a uniform cost per square foot for all these spaces. So I've seen other locations where if you were a nonprofit, you were not charged for the rental space of that area because you, in theory, are not paying that rent to someone else, although someone can make a valid point of trying to recoup costs that were needed to build said space. But not having a space fee and charging them only for what you are paying out of your pocket, utilities, maintenance, garbage pickup, et cetera, is a way that would alleviate the problem that you just articulated. Thank you.
Yeah, the one thing I'm gonna agree with Commissioner Stokes on is the way we're doing it now is the way I would like to see us continue to do it. Because of the reasoning is, like we've talked about, older buildings, newer buildings. If we were to vote and assess on the situation, if we had a nonprofit that wanted to go into one of the older buildings and they came and applied and let's say market rate would be X, then we go, that building is a little older, this, that, and the other. We're willing to give you that 80% off, but you go with what the nonprofit is, what they supply to the community, Awaken Church, might even give them 100% off. Who knows, as long as they paid their bills. And that would be a discussion at the time, not, I don't want to set up 50% across the board and then all of a sudden we've got empty buildings because the nonprofits can't afford it, so.
So Mayor, if that's the case, then I think what City Manager just was talking about is the better option than having the percentage off that's actually in this policy. Right, and we had both of those directions, and you guys were leaning us towards the percentage to bring these back to see what they looked like. So if we have to kind of roll that back and go back to the other one where you would still have to determine a square footage price for these buildings, and we could break it out by building based on condition. But the key to this whole policy was there was going to be a set number. So there's not a constitutional issue between nonprofits. And to touch on the Vice Mayor's questions about a lease, so this is the policy. So some of the questions that you had about enforcement, those are in the actual lease document that would be prepared and brought to commission at time of approval.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, one final comment. I do like the sound of having a uniform price per square foot. I think that alleviates a lot of issues. So I would very much like to see that. And maybe there are, and I'm just throwing this out, there are maybe like 3 steps and with and without certain costs. I mean, you guys can sort of figure that out, but I would really like to see that. This is always such a tough issue, but I also think we need to bring it back in a workshop. I, for one, am not workshop happy, but this issue has a lot of moving parts, and I just really need to better understand what is the real impact of all of these changes. It's not just about the lease amount in terms of how the policy is set. So I would really like to see this come back with different alternatives in a workshop situation.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Petro?
On a final note, if we're going to do anything today, and it doesn't seem like we're going to do anything, but I would like to propose a following scenario, and that would be a trial period. If we do anything, it should be more for like 6 months or a year to try it out, to see what our non-for-profits would give us feedback. And also I concur with Commissioner Stokes' second round, what he said. We only have this much, and we're only dealing with this many non-for-profits now. We don't even know what's going to happen on the community center building with court validation. We don't know what the price of square foot would be for the new building, and it's just too premature, taking into account the economic things that are coming very soon. So that would be my final. But if you're willing to do workshop, I don't know if it's but we, the commission, we decide now, I guess. So if you want to make other suggestions, but if we do make any decisions today, I would like to propose to have some finite period that would be for, let's say, 12 months, and see how the demand is for the new non-for-profits, for current existing non-for-profits, and the feedback from them. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Final, I promise.
Sure.
I do have regular and ongoing conversations with our nonprofit community, and I have many takeaways from those conversations. But one is, I believe in general, our nonprofits are open to the concept of flex space, and I'll pick on the senior center for a minute. I don't think that they need all of that space all of the time. And so if we go to a standard price per square foot, it certainly would motivate some of our nonprofits to reconsider what they ask for in terms of a space allocation. And we might be able to get creative with a concept of flex space, like a large open space that they would sign up for when they need it. So that's my last thought. I promise, Mayor, I am done.
Okay. City Clerk, public comment?
Tim Doyle and Elaine Emmerich.
I support the nonprofits, maybe not all of them, but you have to support them all. Somewhere along my career, I forget when, what year, what day, there was a saying that was put on the walls. Freedom, right? Freedom is having options. You don't know your options. So I don't think you're free to make a decision on this yet. I think you should leave everything as is until some of the points were made, that you know what your options really are financially and for the community. Don't hurt anybody. Just, I hear what you're saying. You don't want to put things off. I'm not the type of guy who likes to put things off like that. But there is so much up in the air right now that any decision you make today will not be a quality decision. It might be the right decision for today, but it won't be the right decision for tomorrow. So something like this, I think you really need to wait. And again, what you're talking September or October or November, you're gonna know what's going on. If they don't get this special session done, right, then it might not even hit the ballot, and you'll know that too. Looking at this list, because they said the name of the organization, and I don't know what this organization is, but it was called Sarasota County Health Department. Now, I don't know if that's a nonprofit or a county department. If it's named like that, that almost sounds like the county's paying for that. And if the county wants any of our space, you charge them top dollar. Because we get nothing here from the county. On the other hand, it says WIC. I know what WIC is. I don't know if that's the WIC I think it is, or that's an abbreviation for something else. WIC, to me, is one of the most important programs we have in this country. WIC takes care of babies and feeds babies, so I don't want to hurt babies. So I don't want people to hate me for saying if this is the county, they should pay top dollar, and then someone doesn't get WIC. That is not what I'm saying here. Because I could be totally wrong, because I could be reading into something here that I don't know what I'm saying. But to me, if it's a county thing, that's not a nonprofit, I would charge them top dollar. Thank you.
I get to say good after morning. Elaine Allen Emrich, I am a 34-year member of Kiwanis Club of Northport, president of Holly's Hope, and Friends of the Library secretary. None of those nonprofits that I serve do I get a dime for. It's all volunteer work. It's very different from the Boys and Girls Club, the Big Brothers Big Sisters, where they have a team of paid employees, a grant writer, and a person who goes out and gets sponsorships for things like their rent. So when you talk about nonprofits, it's immediately different. I applied for a grant for the Selby Foundation when the Children's Closet was in the old social services building. So when I was applying for the $16,000, I said to the Selby Foundation, you have me in a category with Big Brothers Big Sisters. I don't have depreciation of vehicles. I use my vehicle. I don't get anything for it. They have a van, they get depreciation costs. So the point for Selby was, holy cow, we need to do a small but mighty grant and put these nonprofits that don't get paid, don't get a dime, that are constantly fundraising to help give back to the community in a totally different pot than a Big Brothers Big Sisters, totally different. So the word nonprofit in and of itself is very different depending upon whom you're talking about. That's why the senior center, they are seniors who are raising money. They're not, from bingo. They're not, so they would have to raise all of this money to be able to just pay the rent, let alone trying to serve the community. So basically what I'm saying is there really is a distinction between nonprofits, and absolutely you can constitutionally find a public purpose. All day long, counties all over Florida do it with ease. Chris Street has created a nonprofit coalition, and we're pretty much begging to work with the city. So if you guys have a workshop at night, the nonprofits will all be here. We can give you our public purpose, and we can maybe sort of help guide and so that you would understand, because we have some money set aside for building. So we'd like to help contribute with the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. I'll entertain a motion.
Don't know if we need it, but I'll give it a shot, sir. I move that city manager work with staff and schedule a workshop, time frame to be determined, that addresses the questions raised today, presents options based on a fixed amount per square foot, and includes an assessment of the legality of offering nonprofits that are 100% volunteer the ability for an additional discount off the flat rate.
Vice Mayor, is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
Usually when I sit back and go like this, I'm.
Well, I thought you might have been thinking for more stuff to say, that's all I'm saying.
I do try to keep it short and sweet, sir, so.
I have a motion on the floor made by Vice Mayor. City Clerk, you wanna give it back to us?
To direct the city manager to work with staff and schedule a workshop at a later date to address the questions raised during this meeting and to present options based on a fixed amount per square foot and include an assessment on the legality of offering nonprofits that are 100% volunteer the ability for an additional discount off the flat rate.
Thank you. I have that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second from Commissioner Duval. If there's nothing to that, please vote. And that passes 5-0. Moving on to item D, 26-0649. Discussion and possible action regarding approving the appointments of Robin J. Sanvicente, Danielle Kowalczyk, or Jacqueline Torres as regular members to serve on the Charter Review Advisory Board from May 5th, 2026 through May 5th, 2029. Ms. Faust, this is your item.
Yes, we have received the 3 applications from those citizens that you stated. We have 2 openings for regular board members and 1 could be an alternate. The order that the applications were received was Robin Sanvicente was first, then Daniel Kowalczyk was second, and then Jacqueline Torres was the third to submit their application. Robin is currently serving on 1 other board, and the other 2 individuals are not serving on any board.
Okay, commissioners? Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I typically look at these things, assuming everyone is equally qualified for the position they're going for, to look at them in time order, who applied first, second, etc. In this particular situation, though, I've looked at it a little differently. Ms. Sanvicente already has an advisory group seat. Mr. Kowalczyk, I'm sorry on the pronunciation of that, we approved as an alternate today on consent. So he has an alternate seat already. And Ms. Torres has no seat. So I'm inclined to put Ms. Torres in the seat that's available. Well, there are 2 seats available for charter review. So based on my assessment, I would put Ms. Torres and Mr. Kowalczyk as regular members of that board. And correct me if I'm wrong, City Clerk, we also have an alternate position there. I'm trying to speed read here. And then put Ms. Sanvicente as an alternate on this advisory committee. I'm done.
Seeing nothing else, public comment, City Clerk?
Tim Doyle?
I don't know any of these people, so I really have nothing to say on who should be voted in or out or what position they have. What I have to say to anybody taking these positions, please come into your job with a clean slate, clear head, with no predispositions. People shouldn't be taking these jobs to just get what they want. They should be taking these jobs for the good of the community and look at all the facts and what you see and make your determinations on what that is. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll take a motion.
I'll make it.
Go ahead.
I move to approve the appointment of Robin San Vicente and Jacqueline Torres to serve as regular members and Daniel Kowalczyk to serve as an alternate member.
I have a motion on the floor made by Commissioner Petro to approve Robin San Vicente and Daniel Torres as regular members and Daniel Kowalczyk as a alternate member to serve on the Charter Review Board from May 5th, 2026 through May 5th, 2029. Anybody else? Any second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Duval seconded. If there's nothing to that, please vote. And that passes 3-2 with myself and Vice Mayor dissenting. I did like Vice Mayor's analogy on this. This way we would have had, everybody would still have a seat on a board, and that would greatly do, you know, more participation from the citizens. So, I mean, it is what it is. It's good. Congratulations, members. Okay, moving on to 26-0682, discussion and possible action regarding sending a letter of support to the House Committee on Natural Resources for H.R. 642, Myakka Wild and Scenic River Act of 2025. City Manager, this is your item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On April 13, 2026, the City of Northport received a request from Ronnie Carabia, who is the legislative assistant to Congressman Greg Stubbe, seeking the city's consideration of a letter of support for H.R. 642, which is House of Representatives, the Myakka Wild and Scenic River Act of 2025. The request is part of a broader effort to obtain letters of support from local governments and community partners for submission to the House Committee on Natural Resources. The proposed legislation has received support from Sarasota County and several regional and environmental organizations. We recommend that you choose option 1, which is to move to approve the letter of support for H.R. 642 as presented, and authorize the city clerk to transmit the letter. Thank you, sir.
Sir, Commission, questions, discussion? Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a concern about this. The act clearly prohibits new dams and other water diversion projects along the Myakka River, and that really concerns me, because not allowing the City of Northport to make those kinds of changes to the Myakka River would, in the future, really curtail our ability to ensure an adequate supply of quality water to the residents of this city, which will number more than 200,000 at build-out. In fact, I would refer you to the memorandum sent some time ago by Trish Wisner, our utilities director, identifying water supply alternatives for the city. And one of those alternatives is diverting, which one is it? SW-6. It's diverting water from the river to a water treatment plant in the city for use by the residents. Now, I'm not an environmentalist, and I'm not a utility or water expert, but even though that particular project was not among the 2 projects that the consultant and the utilities department have recommended that we move to feasibility, it is one of the alternatives identified, and looking at the yield and cost, is, when you look at it, cost per 1,000 gallons is one of the, I won't say less expensive, inexpensive alternatives. It's a little less expensive than many of the others. So I could easily see at some point in the future, this city wanting to take water from the Myakka, or divert water from the Myakka, or have the need to dam the Myakka to control flooding in this city. I'm very uncomfortable. So back to the letter. I mean, I certainly support the spirit of the letter, and we should restrict commercial and residential development in the area of the Myakka, but to potentially jeopardize the ability of this city to control flooding, and probably more importantly, to ensure an adequate supply of potable water for the residents of the city, I'm very, very uncomfortable with that.
Commissioner Stokes?
Yeah, I mean, on the surface, the Myakka Wild and Scenic River Act is a good bill. I mean, its purpose is altruistic. It is the right thing to do to help protect this body of water, and it's not unreasonable for this request to be made, in my opinion. The only issue I have is I don't know what the impact is on the city, if, existing or future. I mean, is there an economic impact? Is there a development impact? I don't really know the answer to that question, so it's hard for me to want to make a decision. Again, it's just a letter of support, but nevertheless, it's a letter of support. We don't even know what this bill, this amendment to the bill might look like when it weasels its way through, the state legislature. I would like to understand, one, are there any financial obligations that come along with this? If it in fact gets passed, is the city going to be burdened? We have development that's going to take place in and around, everything from environmental issues to land development issues to you name it. It's like, I guess I'm trying, here's Stubbe's office asking for a letter of support for something that we don't really have any real clear understanding as to the impact on our city, other than a vote of support for one of our electeds who is promoting this amendment to the bill. So on the surface, the bill is great, but I don't know. I don't know anything about how this affects us. I can't possibly make a decision on this without knowing what impacts there are, what areas that are in Northport are affected by this, adding this stretch of the Myakka in. I mean, there's no information for which I can rely on to make a decision. So, I don't support anything here on this. I certainly don't support a letter until I understand what it is we're supporting.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, just one final comment that I neglected to make. Once a conservation easement is placed on a property or an area, the county has demonstrated, and our various conservation groups have demonstrated their complete unwillingness to entertain a change based on the need of one of their municipalities. And I only have to point once again to the total disregard of the MPO to even vote for a feasibility study to extend Toledo Blade to Highway 72. I'll tell you, I don't think I will ever get over that. That I could not make them understand that a city that will be over 200,000 people has no way out except 41 which is stressed, and 75, which is a disaster. That's it for me. No more soapbox.
Thank you. City Clerk, public comment?
I'm going to read one paragraph from the letter because you guys kind of brought it up. Importantly, this designation does not impose federal land use or affect private property rights. Instead, it enhances the support of strong framework already in place. So everything that she said contradicts this letter, and I agree with her. If you get the feds involved, forget about it. If we need to do any flood control, and let's face it, you saw what happened to 75. And my dealings with Greg Stubbe offices, they're liars. I can say that publicly, because he lied to the police. So I know that for a fact. So to me, he's a shyster, even though I voted for him. You forget, I vote for these people who I disagree with. But I don't think you should do anything on this until you know the facts. And since it's this bill, you can put an attachment on it. Well, if you send them a letter, why don't you ask them to put an attachment on it for $100 million to build a police station? Because they do that all the time. Or to your point, is I already did call Scott's office about extending Toledo Blade and asked him to do something about it. So don't think I don't do things to try to help you guys. But I'm totally in disagreement. You give these guys any access, to your point, some people are very unreasonable. They will never give in. They will never change their tune. You can't cut down this tree. You can't do that. You can't allow something like that to go through. And, you know, the water, you know, everybody always talks about global warming and the oceans rising. I'd rather see you, if you're going to take water from someplace and give it to 200,000 people, come out of a river than the ground. See, at my house, I have a well. I don't drink my water at home. I'm going to be totally honest with you. My water is recycled. It comes in, goes down my drain, right back into the ground. I do not water my lawn. So all my water is recycled. It goes right back into the ground. You guys pumping all this water out of the ground, that water sinks the land, and that raises the level of the oceans. As you're taking all this water out of the ground that took hundreds of thousands of years, and you're replacing it back in the oceans. So I'd rather see the water come out of the river than the ground. But I'm not giving up my well or drinking your water. Thank you.
Look for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
Make a motion to direct city manager to have staff look into the impact that this amendment to Bill HR 641 would have on the city from a financial and a development standpoint.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Stokes. City Clerk, you want to read that back, please?
Direct the city manager to work with staff to review the impact the Bill HR 642 will have on the city from a financial and development standpoint.
Thank you, and that was seconded by Vice Mayor. There's nothing to that. Please vote. That passes 5-0. City Clerk, final public comment.
Tim Doyle.
I got my 2 cents again. I don't know how I can get pennies, but no one else can. You guys talked about a lot of different things today. It fits into what I'm saying about the penny. You guys talk about, you know, trying to make decisions where you don't know what to make the decisions because you don't know what's coming in a few months. These legislatures and our president are making decisions and they don't see the repercussions of what they're doing. And they don't even take it into account. I'm not anti-government, I'm anti-bad government. If you're gonna take away a penny, you better figure out how you're gonna deal with society. So I'm glad to see some of you are starting to think ahead and not just going to do things and putting a few things off. Before they got rid of the penny, they should have made a determination how it would affect the public and not turn corporation into thieves and the Sarasota tax collector. And I don't know if they changed their policy yet, because I called everybody and a brother and gave them my 2 cents, as you know I often do. And hopefully some of these people made some phone calls and they reversed policy, but I really don't feel like driving down the Clark Road and seeing if it's still up there on the signs or not. I walked over here, but I didn't see anything. And I'm dead serious about this county stuff. If the county is gonna take my money, do they pay for any of the parks in the town? Do they pay for anything in this town? I don't know. I can go other counties in the area, and the county government provides funding for the parks and the rec and stuff like that. Does Sarasota County give our parks and rec any money? Or do they pay for all the beaches down in Sarasota? Do you follow what I'm saying here? We need to do business with somebody who's gonna take our interest in. And I don't think Sarasota takes our interest in. We have more population and more area. Now, they have the high-rise buildings, and they might pay a little more in taxes, but if we go up to 200,000 people, you're gonna see the high-rise buildings here, and this town will generate more revenue than the city of Sarasota, eventually. And then what do we get? All our money go to the beaches in Sarasota and nothing for us. So I hope all of you are getting on the phone and calling the county and asking them what they're doing and what they can do for the people in this town. Because I've said it for years, they don't do a darn thing. Thank you.
Commission Communications, Commissioner Petro.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I was in attendance of Alameda Garden Club of a 60th anniversary celebration, where I saw our mayor to become emotional when he gave a speech. It was really interesting to see how people are devoting their lives for gardening. That would be all for me.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I'll be filing my activity report as an attachment to the final meeting of this month. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I attended the Alameda Garden Club. It was a great celebration. I had worked with a lot of them over the years, and it brought back a lot of memories. So, right place, right time. I was available to be able to present that with them after many years of service with them. It was a great day, so it was very, very good.
You old softy.
Commissioner Stokes.
Nothing for me.
And Commissioner Duval.
I recently attended a rescue garage event. They raised $17,000. And as a result of that, my household now has a new queen who weighs about 13 pounds. That's it.
All right. City Manager, anything?
No, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
City Attorney?
Nothing, Mayor.
And City Clerk. Okay. 12:27, we're adjourned.
People running each of these departments, they are running multi-million-dollar businesses all separately, but coming together with tax dollars that come through. And that is by far not an easy task.
Departments that we've been to seem to have improved with the growth in the city.